Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hanukkah Sameach. It is not my custom to leave New York on Hanukkah. This is probably the first time ever in my life that I ever missed lighting the menorah with my family. And I want to tell you why I made this exception. A few years ago, I started teaching a book that's called Tomer Devorah. It's written by a great Kabbalist, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. He was the rabbi of Rabbeinu Ari. And in that book, he teaches that our responsibility is to behave like HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to emulate God. V'halachta b'drachav, you must walk in the ways of Hashem, which means whatever Hashem does, you must copy. As an example, in the beginning of the book of Bereshit, it says that God gave Adam and Hava clothes. So the next time there's a needy person that needs clothes, and you give them some of your own clothes, or you buy them clothes, you're behaving like God. You fulfill a mitzvah. And that's how you become godly. That's how you become holy. When Abraham Avinu was sick, God visited him. So when you visit the sick people, that's godly. And he goes on to explain that one of the things that a Kadosh Baruch Hu loves is Chesed. And he quotes a pasuk in the book of Micha, Ki Hafez Chesed Hu. Hashem loves Chesed. What does that mean? He loves people who do Chesed. I'm repeating again. If you see a person that does Chesed, you have to know Hashem loves that person. God says, Ki Hafez Chesed Hu. I love people that do Chesed. And he goes on to tell a story. There was a man called Micha. Micha was not such a good man. He opened a church, Avodah Zarah, a few miles away from the Mishkan. And every day Micha would bring smoke, ketoret, sacrifices to the Avodah Zarah. Could you imagine such a man? Jewish man opens up a church of Avodah Zarah next to the Mishkan. One day, he was bringing the smoke incense, and it was going up. And at the same time in the Mishkan, they were bringing the ketoret. And the smoke of the holy ketoret got mixed with the smoke of Micha's Avodah Zarah. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu smelled it, and the angels got so angry. The angels told God, enough with this man. Now he's spoiling the ketoret. And God said, I know that, but leave him alone. The angel said, why leave him alone? It's because he does Chesed. Micha was very hospitable. He used to give sandwiches, food to the Ovrei Derachim. So God said, even though he's doing Avodah Zarah, but because he does Chesed, I love him. So I said to myself, if God loves Chesed, and God loves people that do Chesed, he must love David Ashkenazi and his wife, So who am I to say that I have a custom to stay home for Hanukkah? I have to be close to people that Hashem loves. That's the reason why I came here tonight. I'm very, very impressed with his organization. I know David for many years. He was in New York for a little while. I know that he's a God-fearing man. And I know he's L'Shem Shamayim. And I know he's helping people. And I also know he doesn't need this. This came on his lap. Sometimes you have a zechut. God gives you a zechut. He presents you with an opportunity. He didn't look for this. It landed on his lap. And Baruch Hashem, he accepted it that he's doing it. I'm not from Mexico. I don't know how this community works. In New York, David Ashkenazi would be a hero. The community would be putting him on a high pedestal. I'm not too sure how it works over here with the different communities. But all I know is, when you find people that are L'Shem Shamayim, then there's no room for red tape or politics, or somebody's doing chesed, you have to help them. That's my opinion. I see the rabbis are supporting him. Rabbi Shweki is gadol, so there's nothing more to be said. I wish him well. I wish him success. And guess what? He's just beginning. He's just beginning. I believe that this organization has a lot of potential ahead of it. So I really came to beg this community to help David and his wife, to help David and his wife help the community. That's why I came. Now I'm going to tell you my derasha. I came to say a big hidush, in honor of this community that I love. There's 4 exiles. The Jewish people have gone through 4 exiles. Galut Bavel, Galut Paras Umadai, Galut Yavan, which is Hanukkah, and Galut Edom, or Romi. The 4 exiles are basic. The Torah mentions it on the first page. In the second pasuk of the Torah, the pasuk says, "V'ha'aretz hayeta tohu v'hohu v'choshech al penei tehom." The Midrash says, Tohu is referring to Galut Bavel. Bohu is Paras Umadai. Choshech, Yavan. Tehom, which is an endless pit, a black hole, that's the Galut that we're in now. That's Keneged Kulam. The longest of the exiles and the most severe of the exiles. So the Torah mentions the Galuyot on page 1. Later on, it mentions it by Avraham Avinu. Avraham had a prophecy. That prophecy was called Brit Ben Abetarim. And over there the pasuk says, V'hineh ema hashocha gedola nofelet. 4 words. And the Midrash says again, Ema Galut Bavel, Gedola Paras Umadai, Hashecha Galut Yavan, Nofelet Galut Romi. But tonight I want to discuss the 4 exiles in relationship to the life of Yaakov Avinu. You know what the Ramban said? Ma'aseh Avot, Siman Labanim. That whatever happened to the Avot would happen to us. And Yaakov went through 4 different troubles, 4 different exiles. Number 1, he was chased by his brother Esav. Number two, he had to live with his father-in-law Laban for 20 years, and he tricked him, and he wanted to kill him. Number three, his daughter Dinah was abused. And number four, the story that we just read, Yosef. Says the Mekubalim that the four stories of Yaakov eventually becomes the four exiles. Esav is Keneged Galut Bavel. Lavan is Keneged Paras Umadai. Dinah is Keneged Yavam. And Yosef is our exile. The trouble of Yosef represents the exile that we're in now. There was a great rabbi called Rabbi Dessler, Rabbi Eliyahu Dessler. He wrote a sefer called Bichtar Eliyahu. I'd like to recommend it. You should buy the book. They have it in English. It's called Strive for Truth. And you should read it. It's good reading. He was a brilliant rabbi, smarter than any psychologist or therapist. He had good wisdom. Rabbi Dessler says something incredible. He says that when the first Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, the Jewish people committed 3 sins. They worshipped Avodah Zarah, they had immorality, Gilui Arayot, and if you could believe it, they were even murdering each other. Shetichut Damim. And he said that the Jewish people would have to make teshuvah on those 3 sins. And you know what teshuvah means? Teshuvah doesn't mean you just take your fist and go like this, bang your chest. Teshuvah means is that you are put in the same situation, but this time you overcome it. That's a real Baal Teshuvah. So he writes that since we committed 3 sins, God sent us into 3 exiles. Bavel, Paras Umadai, and Yavan. Each one of these exiles, they represented one of the sins. Avodah Zarah, Gilui Arayot, Shetichut Damim. That was what the society was doing. The Goyim around us were involved in one of those sins. That was the sin that was prevalent. And we were living in those 3 exiles, and therefore we were influenced by the sin of the society. And therefore Rabbi Dessler says God put us specifically in those exiles that had those 3 weaknesses, each one is Avodah Zarah, one is Gilui Arayot, one is Shetichut Damim, in order for us to overcome it. And then came the second Beit HaMikdash. And the second Beit HaMikdash, there was no murder, there was no immorality, and there was no Avodah Zarah. There, the sin of the second Beit HaMikdash was Sidat Chinam. You know what Sidat Chinam means? I'll explain it to you. Because the rabbis always say, Sidat Chinam, but nobody ever tells us what it is. I'm going to tell you what it is. They spoke Lashon Hara. Simple as that. That was the sin of the time. People would talk about each other. They would talk things that are true but negative. That's what Lashon Hara is. And as a result of that sin, of Sinat Chinam, the second Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. Says Rabbi Dessler, the final galut is the galut that we're in now, is to make the tikkun of Sinat Chinam. And therefore God put us in the galut of Esav. And what does it say about Esav? Halakha Esav sonei Yaakov. The sin of this generation is that they hate us. And therefore to make teshuvah, God put us in a society that's filled with hatred, so we can overcome the hatred that we have for each other. Now we're coming to make the tikkun of sin'ah, so therefore God has to challenge us. So He puts us in a world where the world is filled with hate. And He says, and I quote, it's true, Esav sonei Yaakov. You know what soneh means? There's a difference between the words soneh and oyev. Well, both mean enemies, but there's a difference between a soneh and an oyev. Oyev is somebody that's an enemy because of a reason. We're fighting over money. We're fighting over property. Oivim have an argument over territory. It's defined. We know what the argument is about. However, a soneh hates for the sake of hating. I would say it's sin'at l'shem shamayim. It's got nothing to do with an object. The soneh hates for the sake of hate. And that's Esav. Esav soneh Yaakov. Not because of any one reason or anything that we can solve. It's not as if we would give Esav $100, he wouldn't hate us anymore. He doesn't hate us because of that. He hates us because he hates us. That's the sin'ah that's intrinsic. You want an example of the sin'ah? We've been living this for 2,000 years, the sin'ah. Take the Germans. I was once giving a shi'ur in Miami Beach. After the shi'ur was over, the old lady came to the pulpit. She had a hair covered, she was dressed modestly. And she said, "Dear Rabbi, can you bless me?" And I noticed that she had numbers, blue numbers, that were tattooed on her arm. I understood that she was a survivor of the Holocaust. I said, "Well, I'd like a blessing from you." So she agreed and we exchanged blessings. I got the better end of that deal. And then I told this lady, I said, "I see you have these numbers. You survived the Holocaust. And you're religious. What were you thinking? How did you stay mentally strong? How did you go out of your mind?" She looked down and she said, "It's funny you ask, Rabbi, but I did think of something that kept me sane." I said, "Could you share it with me? I'd like to know the secret." She then pulled her sleeve up so I could see all the numbers. She said, "Dear Rabbi, you know how painful it is when they put these numbers on your arm? They don't put anesthesia. They brand it into our skin and it's torturous. It's the most painful feeling." And when they were branding me, at that moment, turned to Borei Olam and I said, Moda'ani. Thank you, Hashem. And I looked at her and I said, thank you, Hashem. Thank you for what? She said, thank you that I'm the human and I'm not the animal. Thank you, Hashem. I could have been the German. I could have been the one that's doing the branding. I could have been the one that was victimizing. Thank you, Hashem, that I'm the victim in this equation and I'm not the behemah. That's the sin'ah. For what reason? To put numbers on people, to torture them? For no reason. We didn't commit any crimes. That's the sin'ah. That's the society we live in. There was another story of a German that met a Jew. He took his gun, he put it in the back of his neck. He said, Jew, get up. He was lying on the floor. He said, today's your lucky day. He says, I have two eyes. One is a real eye and one is a glass eye. And the one that made this glass eye made it to look perfectly human. He says, tell me which is the glass eye and I won't kill you. The Jew looked in the eyes of the German